Alright, welcome back to yet another edition of Huckins on Film. I'm your host, Kyle Huckins, and we're going to talk Wreck-It Ralph that I finally got around to seeing. First, do the trailers, best as I remember them. It's mostly kids' films, and I don't really go to all that many of those, so I wasn't too interested. Had the one for the 3D Monsters, Inc. I might check that out, because I haven't seen a lot of the Pixar stuff, but I did see Monsters, Inc. I really liked that one. Once I've really seen her that and The Incredibles. I liked them both, I've just never watched the other stuff. No reason, I just haven't. Little teaser for the Smurfs 2. Yeah, there's a movie we needed. Had, I know I messed up the name. I think it's Rise of the Guardians. It's about the Easter Bunny, Santa, Jack Frost, the Sandman, all joining forces to combat some great threatening evil. It looks interesting, actually. I'm kind of tempted. I might go see that. Had Sam Raimi's Wizard of Oz prequel, which I seriously might go see, just because from the trailer, the 3D looks awesome. It looks really nice. I'm tempted. Probably won't, but I might. Hobbit again. I still don't care about Tolkien. I see no reason to start now. Anyway, let's get on to Wreck-It Ralph. I caught this at a matinee, so it was actually pretty cheap, and I saw it in 3D. If you are going to go see it, definitely see it in 3D, because there's a racing sequence at the end of the movie, and it looks awesome in 3D. It's almost worth it just for that. But it's pretty well acted. Whether or not you enjoy this movie, it's going to depend on how you feel about Sarah Silverman. Because she plays what you think is a supporting character in the movie, and she kind of ends up taking over the last third or so of the movie, away from John C. Reilly's Wreck-It Ralph. It wouldn't be too bad, except her character's annoying. Honestly, she's kind of grating, because she's this just obnoxious little brat who's she will get on. If you can manage to ignore her enough, you'll really like this movie a lot more, but she can be pretty grating. And you know, I mean, she's a wee little kid, so she's got the same level of humor. And at one point, Ralph, when they first meet, Ralph had managed to win a medal in the game Hero's Duty. I don't think I have to explain where the jokes went from there. It's kinda, really? Sure about that? Alas, that is where they went. However, when it's focused on Ralph, it's a really good movie. And early on, there's one part where he's at a villain support group. It's him, one of the ghosts from Pac-Man, Bowser from Super Mario, Zangief, and Bison from Street Fighter. Those scenes are really funny. Especially Zangief. He's a funny guy. I am a bad guy, but I am not the bad guy. In fact, this little group has a credo basically focused around that. I can't recite it from heart, but it was pretty well done. Ralph's a very sympathetic character, because you know, he is the bad guy in the game, but he's more or less just doing his job. No, he's not evil. He's just, hey, when I'm on the clock, I'm the villain. And he kind of gets treated like crap by the rest of them. Rest of the people in his game. Not so much Felix as the inhabitants of the building that Fix-It Felix is trying to fix in Wreck-It Ralph's game. Including one of them who's actually like the principal, almost his principal antagonist. And he was very well done. Not so much character-wise, but the way his character moved, even in the scenes where it's clearly CG, you know, kind of that, I would say it's similar to Pixar, that sort of CG, not 8-bit. Even when he's in their real world, he moves a little odd. His movement's a little odd. It's a little jerky. You know, it definitely stands out. Not sure why they did that, but I thought it was an interesting touch, because it doesn't look like anyone else in the game really does that. As for the games, there's only 3 games in the movie that are... I mean, there are famous characters from real games that do show up, but there's not a whole lot of game hopping. In fact, most of the third act takes place in a game called Sugar Rush, which is like a combination of Candyland and Mario Kart. It has a really annoying J-pop theme that will not be leaving your head ever. Seriously, I came home from this movie, I just listened to Neurosis all day trying to get it out. Souls at Zero could not move this song. Help me. And the scenes that take place in Sugar Rush, I said it's most of the third act, and it's the weakest part of the movie. Especially because it's supposed to be about the 2 misfits teaming up to show everyone that they're alright. And it would work fine. Like I said, Sarah Silverman's character can get annoying. Like, really annoying. So it's not as effective as it could be. Meanwhile, there's also... Everyone keeps thinking, has Ralph gone turbo? Because there was a game called Turbo Time. And, you know, the one character in that was a racer named Turbo. Well, you know, he was the king, and it's actually cool. He dresses kind of like Speed Racer, only all white. Like, even his face is white. Like, he's kind of a scary-looking character. And then another racing game showed up in the arcade, and he traveled into that. And it caused both games to get their plugs pulled permanently because everyone thought both of them were broken. So now whenever somebody loses... Not so much loses their mind, but tries to cross into another game, it's known as going turbo. And yes, this does become a plot point. I'm not going to spoil how. But the hero's duty segments were really good. Because the main character in that, other than Ralph, is voiced by Jane Lynch from Glee. And she's just, you know, she's the head officer of this. She's like the guy in a first-person shooter sort of thing, but, you know, she's just this ultimate hard-ass soldier. Who's a lot of fun, actually. She's really good. You know, they gave her the ultra-tragic backstory and everything, and he's just nasty and wants to shoot everything. Oddly enough, a romantic subplot developed between her and Fix-It Felix. Which was actually really cool, because, you know, Fix-It Felix is a very innocent aw shucks type. Whereas Jane Lynch's character has had to clean blood out of places that other people's blood should never be. Or other things' blood, because hero's duty, you know, it's... The wordplay is obvious, but the game itself is more like Starship Troopers. Honestly, I wouldn't mind playing it. It looked kind of interesting. And Fix-It Felix's game, which apparently does exist online. I haven't played it. It's a lot like Zookeeper meets Donkey Kong. I'll have to track it down and get a chance. It actually does look kind of fun. But yeah, I would probably compare it to Zookeeper meets Donkey Kong sort of thing. But overall, it's a good movie. It definitely has plenty of heart to it. There are a few scenes in there that are just... you get a little verklempt. Even though it's happening to Sarah Silverman's character, who is... I think I've said this already, but basically your enjoyment of this movie is going to come down to how well you can deal with Sarah Silverman's character. You know, if she just drives you absolutely bonkers, you're going to hate this movie. I could deal with her, but yeah, you know, I'll be the first to admit she can be very grating. That's probably what dragged the movie down a bit for me. But overall, I would still say check it out. Like I said, if you can't, you know, do it a matinee. Especially catch it for the 3D. Like I said, the racing scene in 3D is really well done. Actually, I'm not even a big fan of like racing scenes, but this one was pretty good. Hell of a lot better than pod racing, I will tell you that. Of course, you know it's better than pod racing, right? Cancer! Okay, don't think about the prequels, it only makes you angry. Anyway, I think I summed up my thoughts on Wreck-It Ralph pretty succinctly there. Oh, just so you know, this is a long movie too. It's about 2 hours long. I thought it went by pretty fast, but of course part of that runtime is there's actually a short beforehand called Paperman. You know, guy meets girl, girl gets on subway, he goes to work, he looks across the street and sees her in an opposite building, the window's open, so he's trying to get her attention with paper airplanes. You know, all the sound is music, there's no dialogue of any kind in the movie, but it was a very well done short. I thought it looked really good. You know, the story was nothing to write home about, but it was a well done story. And sorry, final thing that I forgot. If you do see Wreck-It Ralph, stay for the end credits. Because they're done in 8-bit with the main characters and just showing them reprising scenes with the continuity of Wreck-It Ralph. It's kind of they're doing cover versions of older games. Which I thought was really well done. It was very nice to look at. Now these guys definitely hardcore gamers. They definitely love the subject. I kind of want to see it again because I know there's a ton of Easter eggs that I just missed. Now it's one of those always like, oh, there's so much crap hiding in the background, I can't possibly see it all the first time. But, you know, like I said, it's very good overall. The third act's a little weak. But I would still recommend checking it out. Anyway, that's Kyle Huckins for Huckins on Film. Fucking off.